Salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Deb, I just want to do a quick mic check. Can you hear us okay?
Yep, I can hear you just fine.
Outstanding. Thank you. All right, so first up is our approval of the agenda. Are there any amendments anybody would like to make? I hear none. We'll go ahead and approve the agenda and we'll move right into the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
All right, there's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
All right, any discussion? All right, Laura, roll call.
Yep.
Yes.
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 Yes. All right. Do we have any patron comments this evening? All right. Okay, thank you. Let's go ahead and move to our reports. First for the superintendent report.
So, tonight you're gonna see 2 proposed school calendar schedules for next school year to vote upon. We can talk about that a little bit more. I have received Corvallis's proposed and ours lines up. Both of them, like the vacations, line up pretty well. There will be one change I just noticed tonight on version 2, that the last teacher day will not be on June 19th due to the Juneteenth holiday. It would be probably that Friday. I met with a representative from Benton County. They will be updating, hopefully, the sidewalk curbs and the fit ADA compliance. Deb, can you hear me? I'm making sure I'm on.
Yeah, you're a little on the quiet side, so maybe bring your mic a little closer to you.
Ultimately what they have to do is they have to make the sidewalk corners like be able to fit wheelchairs. It will be a bump out. So we talked about if that happened, what would it look like? They would more than likely have to use some of our grounds as not a permanent, I can't think of the words today, as just a sidewalk while they finish it. They're waiting for ODOT approval. They asked if we could add anything, what would it look like? And I said I would really appreciate if we had more defined crosswalks. And so they're just going to continue to have that conversation about if they have enough money to do so, so on and so forth. So we'll be in conversation with them. I took a meeting this past week with the superintendents from Central Lynn and Harrisburg. There's a possibility for us to get a collaborative grant for technology. So we could use it for things like telehealth and also distance learning. One of the major pieces that I would really like for the high school especially to look into is being able to offer more electives, but do it distance learning wise. So for example, foreign language is something that that students actually need to get into a 4-year university, which we currently don't offer. So it'd be something that if, we had this type of equipment that we could tap into Central Lynn or Harrisburg's foreign language teacher and help pay for some of that cost. But then they could also tap into, like perhaps one of our art classes if they don't have it. So that's a collaboration we're working on, and it's actually specifically for rural areas. So I've sent off preliminary addresses and different things like that to make sure that we do qualify, but we pretty much qualify. There's another grant that we're looking at that would be that I'm very interested in writing with, and so in collaboration with both Central Lynn and Harrisburg, that would help us increase. It's a grant for safety to increase the safety capacity of our school. So it's a company that we're working with that would help us with these grants and write them. And so I'm really excited. This is, Dr. Candace Pelt from Central and reached out specifically to Elsie and said, would we be interested in doing a lot of collaboration? So I think that's a first step in the right direction. Met with, as my sped director part, and met with Stacy Matthews to really just talk about how our sped program is going. And I met with ODE. They came out, the integrated guidance people came out to do a tour of Elsie, just to kind of see where we're going at. The graduation rates for last year actually came out. And I know that there was a lot of conversation about graduation rates, and Laura and I have been actually spending the past couple of weeks diving into that. And what is hurting us right now is that our graduation rate includes students who are in the online school. And so while last year we may have only graduated, I can't remember, 15. That sound about right? Well,
14? Yeah.
14. Our cohort is actually considered 35. So 15 of those students were online. So a cohort is when you come in as a freshman. When they enroll with us as a freshman, they are considered in our cohort until they transfer out. And transfer means we have documentation that they're gone to a different school, whether in state or out of country or in another state. When we broke, Laura got the data, because actually I thought our cohort was about 85 kids. I didn't realize at one point Elsie actually was Laura, what is it?
How to explain
It was
this?
so weird.
There was a group of students who were enrolled in other private schools, but we offered online classes that weren't offered. So they were only taking like one class with us at a time. So we didn't collect FTE for it. It was called shared enrollment. So we didn't get FTE on it. The way we got paid was by their attendance. I had to go in every week and mark whether they were there or not. But those do not count because their primary school was somewhere else.
And so we had to actually, that was about 50 kids. So Laura had to go through with ODE. And so it broke down to 15 kids were online and 20 were considered in brick and mortar. Out of those 15 kids, 13 of them dropped out. So that's a 13% graduation rate. And then we had 20 kids in the brick and mortar in that cohort. And out of those 20 kids, let me read, 14. I think it was 12 that received a regular diploma or modified. So we had our rate was 14 out of 35. So Laura, Bart, Kayla, and I are Laura called ODE and got the list of students for this year's seniors who would be considered in a cohort. And we're going to go through that list to ensure, one, that they were coded correctly. Because it's a lot of what it falls on is really our reporting. So we're going to make sure they're coded correctly. And we're looking at, what can we do for the kids we do have here. That's kind of just what happens when you have online schooling, unless you have a really strong program. But I was very disappointed to see that out of the cohort for 15 kids in the online school, 13 of them literally dropped out. So that's why our number is so low. If we took out the online school, it would be 60% graduation rate. So we're really going to track. We think, based on what ODE told us, this cohort, so this year's seniors will be the last cohort that we have the online schooling. But it could be next year. So we really won't see our graduation rates go up until we can drop off that. So that's when you see that 40%, I wanted to make sure you all understood. It's not brick and mortar. It's because of the online piece. And then in facilities, we had the radon testing done. The updated radon testing link to our on our website. Report is on our website. Working on getting water samples. Keenan got a call from ODE that said you're behind on your water samples, which test the lead. So he finished that on Monday. We have that sent off. He's finishing the inside of the shed that was purchased by the Vena Annex project, and then the flag in the gym has been installed. So thank you to the Booster Club. And that is what I did.
All right, do you want to go through regular attenders also, or?
Oh, yes. So I sent an email earlier. Learn at home. We sent, these are the t-shirts that will be given out in our assembly. In 2 weeks for any students in grades K through 12 who came to school 90% or more of the time. And I'm going to keep harping on 90%. We sent out the Learn at Home t-shirts. They received them. And today, and I sent you all an email from pictures that Mrs. Shunk had sent us today. So we're really super excited. We're doing, you can walk in the, if you walk in the hallways, you can see in the elementary hallway, we're actually doing 90% attendance per day. And kids, if your class gets 90% attendance in that K through 6, they get to put up a popcorn kernel. And when they hit 10 kernels, they get a popcorn party. And so we're really harping on this 90%. Remember, 90% for the first semester means you could have missed literally 7 days or less. That's a lot of days. But we're really trying to get, when you look at our regular attendance rate, we're still in the upper 50s, but we want to get higher. So that's the one, we got to really get kids to school. That's how the first step in getting anything else. And I want to really reiterate, yes, we have kids who are late, but we want to get them to school. When we can get them to school consistently, then you move to the next thing, which is getting here on time. And then you move to the next thing. So we really need to focus on what we can control and what we can get kids here for. So we will be doing these t-shirts in a couple of weeks. This is paid out of the SIA grants. And then we're going to do them every semester. And then we're going to do 95% or above the whole year gets a sweatshirt. And we're really going to put Elsie, make sure people know that attendance matters, and just kind of get our name out there for that. And kids are the little ones are super excited. We got our popcorn machine up and running today. So, we had to make sure it worked. And so you could smell it throughout the hallway. And so we had a lot of kids go, when do we get a popcorn party? Which opens up a really good conversation about how you earn it. So yeah.
K through 6 principal report.
I'm really excited. Well, first off, we do the elementary student of the month. Very excited. Last month we decided to do very, and then the teachers got to pick what they wanted their very to be. So we had kindergarten was very friendly. First grade, I can't remember what their very was. Second grade was very resilient. Third grade was very determined. Fourth grade was very enthusiastic. First grade was very positive. And fifth grade was very happy. And so they gave those things out. It was great. The kids get a certificate, their parents get invited, and we give them a $10 gift card to Dairy Queen. And then I'm really excited about the partnership with the STEM Hub. It's great. Chris from the Mid-Valley CT and STEM Hub comes out once right now, once a month. He's going to start coming out twice a month, and they just do so many cool projects. The kids love it. I just really appreciate they're getting a lot of hands-on science and STEM and thinking skills. And so we're able to pay for that service through our SIA grants as well. And it's great because now the teachers are starting to see that there are things that the kids really like that maybe necessarily don't always have to be a lesson. And so now we're moving into, okay, let's not always be on the computers. What are some STEM things that we can get in your classroom? So each teacher is now ordering $100 worth of STEM activities for their classrooms. So we can get to that going. It's great. I get invited every time I go see it. It's just great. They love it. I think he's coming out next month to work with K12, and they're going to do bots. I think that's what he told me. And then I'm excited for you guys to see our iReady data next month. The teachers have been working hard, and we're starting to have a really great conversations about what our data shows and how can we use our data to move forward. My plan is K through 6 in the brick and mortar, and Ms. Shunks as well as after we have a training meeting where the teachers are going to look at their data with a trainer, and then we're going to meet with each of our staff to review what the data says and how we can go forward. And every day it's nice because a teacher comes and says, did you know there's this report that shows you the Oregon standards, and based on the diagnostic, how many kids have met it and how many kids need to still work on it? And so we're starting to actually look at data versus going, hey, we just do this, call it good. And then the little Wolverines basketball. I think that's great. They talk about it all the time in the hallways. It's amazing. So we have just been plugging away.
Great. All right, Ms. Shunk for Learn at Home.
Hi. Hello, everyone. Nice to see you. Hey, I'm so glad that Krista shared those photos with you today. It was so neat to see actually several kids from the first grade class that I happen to be in wearing their shirts with just so much pride. And I said, "Are you wearing Elsie attendance shirts?" And they were all like, "Yeah, we are." And so thank you so very much. I can't tell you enough. And then I asked the other teachers, every teacher said they had multiple kids in their classrooms that were proudly wearing the shirt. So that makes a huge difference. And we celebrate their attendance during our monthly assemblies. And then now we're kind of trying to figure out what are other ways that we can build on to that momentum. And a lot of it for us and our staff, we were talking about acknowledging the work that parents do, right? To get their kids to school. That's a lot of work. So, I'm sending out in our newsletter just a huge big shout out and congratulations and acknowledgement of the work that goes into getting their kids, even in the online environment, to getting them to be on camera, on time, and getting all of their stuff done. So we're just super grateful for this momentum of, acknowledging and the power of what happens when students are attending regularly. So thank you, Krista, for bringing that to us and sending all those shirts out and certificates. It was really powerful. So thank you. I sent in my board report, or you may have looked through my board report. So as Krista mentioned, we're so excited to be looking through our iReady data. And this is huge for us because sometimes the data, and we've talked about this before, sometimes data comes in and it's like, but we need to know it and we need to acknowledge it. We need to analyze it so that we can be doing what's best for students. So I included, they just are finishing up today. There's a couple stragglers tomorrow, but we'll have all of our iReady data and comparative data ready for Friday, the Friday training for our teachers to really dive in. And for our teachers that have not used iReady in the past, and actually it's all but one is new to this process. So it's a big learning curve, and I want to acknowledge the learning curve and the dedication that these teachers are showing as they are really learning about looking at data and what that means. And then also the flexibility that they need to have with looking at, the structure of their day. So we're going to be, as Krista mentioned, taking that data and then looking at the day and our schedule to see if it fits the, our goals and values for, and the data that we're looking at. Are we doing everything that we can to serve our students' needs? So that's the work going on in there. And then I also want to say a big shout out to the communication that we're, in Learn at Home. The teachers are feeling so much more connected to the brick and mortar now. They, I really just want to emphasize how important that is, that they don't feel like they're off in an island. And I think that was how they felt previously, but now they get emails and they get, there's tasks that they have to do. There's a lot of collaboration. And I think it's just going to prove to be very, very positive for our, for that little program. So thank you. I kind of skipped over a lot of things. But do you have any questions or any thoughts, or would you like to come and visit? We are always, welcoming your visit, and we'd love to be able to have you there to see what happens.
I don't see any questions from this side.
Okay.
Thank you so much, and thank you for showing the data too. Really looking forward to kind of more of what comes out of next month in the training sessions.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the thing. I think people get very apprehensive about looking at data because yes, if you look at the data and especially what I shared, there's red, right? But that tells a story, and that tells us where we need to be focused. And so we have to be willing to be brave and collect the data, talk about the data, and then create a plan for the data. And so I'm excited. It's not always cheery, but if we're doing this, we're moving in the right direction. So I'm grateful, and I'm grateful that Krista brought this to us, and we can work as a team with the brick and mortar to get this going for kids.
I'd like to say I love these pictures of Jennison, and I hope she's really well in that thing. I know it takes a lot of courage to get up in front of people and do a task like that. So I hope she knows that we're very proud of her for that. And what a cute puppy.
Right. I will let her know. I had to share that. It's just so neat when families share with us what their kids are doing out in the world. And actually that was on her birthday. And so that was one of the Fridays that we had school. But it was her birthday and she had this show. So the moms, oh, we had this pre-planned, and please go do that and take pictures, send it to us. That's so wonderful. And she's so proud of what she did. Actually, I talked with her and she's beyond proud. And that wasn't her first show. I thought it was, but it's not. I think this is going to be her thing. So yeah, she was really great. And she's only in 3rd grade, by the way.
Outstanding.
Yeah, we're very proud of our students, and proud of the friendships that grow in the class. And I kind of emphasize this in the newsletter that's going out. The relationships that are forming and have been formed, and the bonds between students, they see each other outside and they get together, and it's really wonderful. It's really wonderful thing.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Rothenberger, 7 through 12.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Coming from the principal's desk of the high school and middle school. Going to go backwards here a little bit. We geared up for finals, and the neatest part was in the last couple of week and a half, our kids really buckled down and raised a lot of grades right there in the last week and a half to 2 weeks. So it was nice to see. I'm gonna go through here, highlight some of the things. I have each of my teachers talk about 1 or 2, 3 positive things. CTE is rolling. Students are continuing to build skills in the shop. We are seeing projects come out of there left and right, and it's a very good. The welder kits that included safety equipment and tools were bought and delivered. The high school health class semester final test grade averaged 95%, with the lowest grade being 74. The testing format was changed to multiple choice format. The unit testing format will remain the same, and Roz was very excited about the rise in grades there. Social studies midterms went very well across the board, raising their grades by working hard and preparing for their final exam. Science, the 7th graders again are working on their new unit of study, forensic science. They're very excited about it in the unit because it's all types of science, including fingerprinting, chromatology, and blood typing. Art, they finished up their totem poles in sculpture class. Graphic design is doing the Alcee Hope Grange, making a new sign for them. And then helping Seth's class is going to help out on that also on the design process. And let's see, English. Catherine had a lot to say here, and she was very excited. Her finals went very well, 7th through 12th grade English. All students had an exam of over 84 Greek and Latin roots, and almost all of them got a C or better on it. And she says, if you think you can get a C or better, I challenge you to take the test yourself, she says. Also, each class had a grade level essay assigned to them as well, and she was working hard in there. She said the worst part is after I did this, I realized that she had to grade every one of those. So, math. I think that the neatest part here is obviously our algebra 2 and geometry had a class average of 96 to and 83% respectively. But down here, number 3, the pass rate of students in high school math went up to 86.5% of students. And so it's an increase, and he's working hard in there. And he's still doing after school tutoring on Mondays. Desk of the high school secretary, she's just been busy as heck putting in transcribing documents and everything. Transportation has been going better. Cross our fingers. Joy Jordan has taken over the west route, and we are training a couple of drivers. But the best part of the whole thing is we just hired a mechanic as needed, and he's going through all our vehicles, doing all the oil changes, oil filters and gas filters and all those. And it is nice to have somebody that we can call, and he has great background and he's certified through the state of Oregon. So that is very critical. Athletics, we're coming to an end with boys and girls basketball this next week. It looks like our girls are right on the border, possibly of making the league playoff. Top 4 teams go next week, next Saturday, to Junction City High School. Top 4 teams will go there, and they're in a battle right there for 4th place. Hopefully they can get that 4th place. Middle school basketball, I watched a good half tonight. They've been battling and competing. The neat part this year, again, is Mapleton's going to run a B tournament on this Friday, and we'll send both our boys B and boys and girls to the B tournament. And then Mapleton all the way, McKinsey on the February 24th is going to run the A tournament. So we had 2 different tournaments. And by going to this format the last 2 years with boys and girls traveling together, we've had more games for our middle school teams than we've ever had. And so then we have 2 tournaments at the end also for them. So it's been very productive. The other thing I want to talk about, probably the last thing, is our after school programs are going to start next week. And so I don't know if you already touched on it there, Krista, but on Mondays will be the shop class with Seth. On Tuesdays, art clay with Mr. Lynch. And then Thursday will be culinary. Thursdays will be culinary after school. We'll have activity vans or buses as needed. And so it's all over Facebook, and we've got out getting information out, make sure kids and parents know about it. So any questions?
I don't have any questions, but I wanted to just call out maybe just a huge thank you for making academics such a priority. You can see all of these grades going up and being prioritized. I also think you may have inadvertently missed topic number 4 in the algebra, where the children are, or where the kids are actually voicing their desire to continue to improve on their skills, which I think does a lot to what you and the staff are doing in the school hallways to build the relationship and be able to say, I'm lacking in a space, which takes a lot of courage for a kid to do. It takes a lot of courage for an adult to do. So thank you. It's awesome to see.
I think, and I just got a shout out to my staff. They did a tremendous job here the last couple of weeks of coming together and really working with kids, and even on Friday, making some calls, and had some kids come in just to finish some stuff up and stuff. So I'm very proud of them, and they're doing a tremendous job. But our kids really showed some interest on wanting to improve their grades. And I know that sounds crazy, but I didn't see that much last year. And so we really came through. Those kids did, and the staff did, and it was nice to see.
Thank you so much. Anybody else?
I'd heard community questions about the potential start for track season.
March 4th.
Thank you. Coach.
March 4th for everybody online.
Yeah. Well, it is March 4th, but also we got a middle school track coach position posted also right now due to losing Eleanor last year. So, and those track schedules are coming out on athletic.net gradually when our league and other schools are doing them. And so we're kind of at the beck and call of the other schools, because unfortunately only 3 schools in our league have tracks. And so we're working those schedules out.
High school, I think we've got 6 or 7 weeks.
Yep.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. Financial statements. Your mic's not on, just FYI.
I was looking for the green light.
Nope, you gotta push and hold.
It's a testy little thing.
Anyway, you received the statements already. Hopefully you had an opportunity to go through them. I tried to make the print bigger so you could see some of the numbers. But same format. Nothing's really changed in the general fund. Still estimating the fund balance, and I show it down there around 6 million at the end of the year. But as I said in our budget orientation, you'll be using about $1 million to $1.5 million each year. So it's how we are going to use those dollars to maintain the programs and the quality of the program. So we're not cutting staff. Hopefully, if you have any questions on any of those areas, the same as before. I think I've answered those. I wanted to go over the special revenues a little more. You'll see them, I have them in categories with the fund on the left side and the definitions, and try to put them in categories so you can see how they're being spent. The balance over there on the end is where we are on each of those grants, and a lot of these can carry over to September 30th. And you'll see that, and that's federal guidelines always go to September 30th. And that way you can cover your salaries in the month of September. So you try to save those dollars in case there's a cutback in the grant. So you can still maintain the program. Going down the line, you have the IDA, the title funds that's Krista's overseas. ESSER grant, we're almost done with all the ESSER dollars. The last amount in there, you'll see encumbered 121,800. That's on the HVAC completion. When that's going to be done here, I don't know, this summer. And that's on the existing building. Other than that, if you go to the next page, page 5, you'll have your integrated guidance that Krista has gone over and you've approved. These are the dollars that she just mentioned, the SIA and the HSS, and these are the dollars that we have remaining. And you'll see most of them go through their different dates, which is weird, but the high school ends on August, SIA ends in September, and then the early intervention ends in June. So because it's federal dollars, so that's why they're different times. And Krista gave me a look there, but that's what they have on the web for each of those. It's the state.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
Under 252 high school success, you say it ends on 8/31/2025. Is that supposed to be?
Well, it's a 2 years, so you can carry them over. It continues.
Okay.
You follow how it works.
Yep.
Yeah. This is the first year of the dollars, and I went over it during our budget orientation. It's based on ADMWR or ADMW for the audience that's average daily membership weighted. And so it's based on a higher number. Now we're going to get about 60%. So when we do the budget process, we'll have the estimate on those. Okay. Another one I want to go over is the food service. Chris and I have just recently gone over the food service, and we're going to be meeting with Corvallis next week because they provide service to us and looking how to incorporate efficiencies in there. And so we're meeting with them next Tuesday, I think, going over that, how we can both quality and cost. Next is your debt service. Any questions on the special revenues? Okay. Next is debt service. That's just paying your bond off on an annual basis, your levy, and we're probably have around 20,000 at the end of the year, which will be used to lower your levy this next year, but you try to keep the levy rate flat. You don't want it to go up and down because then people call because they look at that. So you try to keep your levy rate flat over the term. Next one is the reserve that you have for capital projects that you might need in the CTE if something comes in, whatever. So this is at the discretion of the board through a resolution how they want to use those dollars. And the last one is where we're at in the bond. We submitted, and I think you've been part of that conversation, we submitted the awesome reimbursement for the last 3 years, and they have paid us $1.4 million. And so I just submitted the next claim for another 60-some thousand. And they've already said by an email that we're going to get an extension on that till September, which is good news. We haven't received it, but she's promised me we're getting it. So that's where we're at on that one. So, and I know Chris and Nancy will be discussing the bond in more detail, and we keep in communication all the time on where we are, so. Any questions?
Great work on that. Thank you.
Yes,
I
amazing.
just do want to say one more thing. We've had, I think I've got the books and the accounts all straight right now, right before the budget. Chris and I are working on it, I'm excited, and met with all the secretaries today so they can run their own reports. So they don't have to call me and ask me how many dollars are in this. They have all the reports for all the grants and everything. So, and even Bart has it. So I think it's great. So I think the best thing for staff is to have the ability to see, and that's how they can manage rather than the unknown. So that's where we're at.
Thank you so much for all your work on this. All right. Check my agenda. Next up is our bond update. Chris and Nancy.
Good evening, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Terrific. I tried to put my camera on and it is not coming on. So you get to look at my face, even when Chris is talking. Sorry about that. You should have our copy of our monthly report in your packet. The two things that we wanted to point out are, number one, we did get Todd under contract this month, and they are working on their subcontracts right now for the CTE building. And they expect to start mobilizing by the end of March, beginning of April. And in the meantime, we are getting reports back from the county that the permits are getting approved, and we'll be visiting with them next Tuesday, hopefully picking up some of the permits so that we can start moving forward with the underground portions of the construction for the CTE building. And of course, the other thing that I wanted to point out was what Dawn just said. A huge thank you to Krista and to Dawn for your conversations with ODE with the extension that they gave us for the awesome grant. That takes all the pressure off of us to have certain dollars spent, and we were really pushing to get a certain amount done by March, and that takes some of the pressure off of us. So that was terrific news. Thank you. Chris is going to go over some of the budget details with you.
Hello, everybody. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good, good. Just wanted to give you a little more information to what Nancy said about Todd Construction, our general contractor for the CTE building. So they're currently involved in buyout, which is writing all the subcontracts. And there's actually been quite a bit of work on the real critical path, which is our pre-engineered metal building. So we've got those submittals done. The architect has approved them. They're moving ahead with that procurement, which is really a kind of a, glad we passed that hurdle, because that is a 4-month lead time. So right now we're on track. They believe we're on track for that building materials to be delivered at the end of April, early May, so they can start construction in May. And then we're also have a meeting with them and Soderstrom tomorrow so that we can work on some of the other submittals. We just want to stay ahead. It's a fast schedule. It's going to go quick, and we've got a lot of prep to do. So they've been very responsive so far. The other thing that I wanted to add is you do have the budget spreadsheet there. And there's one correction. After we published this on Friday, Don gave us some updated information on the bond interest to date. And so the figures that you have in that summary sheet are lower than what's expected. The actual figure is about $95,000. And right now we've got all the costs committed for our construction. And so what that does is that basically adds to our owner's contingency. So rather than the $55,000 you see at the bottom, for owner's contingency, we actually have $75,000. But everything else has been committed. We've got, as Nancy said, we've got Todd under contract. We've got fire alarm under contract, wrapping up permits. We got BOLI fees paid. So we're well on our way to just moving into construction and starting to see some things happen finally.
Does anybody have any questions?
I I don't have any questions, but after a few very long years of sitting and waiting and discussing back and forth without progress, I do want to just say a huge thank you to everybody, including those we've contracted with and subcontractors, for making a priority to get this done. I think it's huge to our community and talks really about, our fiscal responsibility and spending their money on this school. So thank you so much, Chris and Nancy, for really making this happen.
It's our pleasure.
I think you guys are done. Unless there's any other questions.
Just trying not to get up and do a happy dance.
We're gonna keep Jamie from dancing for everybody tonight. Okay, enrollment, Laura.
No great changes in enrollment. Since the last board meeting, I think we kind of do a trade-off. We lose one, we gain one. But the numbers are still holding steady for now.
All right, new business. Let's jump into the discussion around school calendars. Will you take that lead?
Yep.
Thank you.
So each year the school board sets a school calendar for the upcoming school year. The calendar is set based on meeting instructional requirements set forth by the Oregon Board of Education, negotiated work days and work hours within the certified CBA. And then as most school districts do, they look at the Oregon University System calendar to see that breaks pretty much coincide. As I put in there, this is from the Alcea Educational Association CBA that has recognized that the board has the right to set the annual school calendar. Prior to the adoption of the calendar, proposed calendar will be referred to the association for review and recommendation. So the process I went through is I sent out 2 initial calendars to have people give feedback on, and then kind of tell us where they'd want to go. And then I took that feedback and I presented to the staff the 2 calendars that you see. The staff were given the opportunity to vote for preferences. Staff preference, and I'm going to be honest with you, there was only, and I was a little disappointed, we only had 14 staff put in a vote. Staff preference, however, was 58% were in favor of version 1 and 42% were in favor of version 2. There would be a change to version 2. So if you guys want to go there, and I just saw it tonight, is that the last day for staff would not be June 19th. It would probably be June 20th due to the Juneteenth holiday. So these 2 calendars, without that change that would need to be made, do fulfill all the contract days and all of our instructional hours. And so I am sending either version to the board. As I said, 58% of those staff members did say they preferred version 1. I just received the proposed calendar for Core Valley School District tonight, and they would get out at the same time as version 1 of ours would. So their last day of school would be June 13th, which I do think we're going to see more of districts do that. Unfortunately for us as a 4-day school week, that means we would have to work the week of Thanksgiving, but that's kind of that trade-off, right, for 4-day school weeks and all those other pieces. So I brought both to you guys. Like I said, staff preference was version 1. I wanted to get this out earlier because I think it's only fair that we have our calendar out for not only our community and our staff for them to plan, but also, since we are a charter school, to have them out for people in our region so they can decide if our schedule fits theirs. So.
All right, is there a motion on the table?
I move to approve version 1 as Alcea School District's 2024-2025 school calendar.
All right, there's a motion to approve version 1 as Alcea School District's 2024-2025 school calendar. Is there a second?
I have a second.
All right, let's move to discussion. Any discussion from the group?
Looking at these, personally, as a parent, I kind of prefer version 2, but I really think that even if it's 1 vote, we should go with what the staff wants. I personally like version 2, but if it's even just one more person wanted version 1, then the people I lean toward going with what the staff wants.
I chose version 1 based on, I've kind of always struggled with having that extra week around Thanksgiving. I feel like we already had such a big break in December that it kind of keeps some momentum going for all the work we're doing as far as improving academics and attendance. But it just keeps the momentum a little bit better.
I would just say, I think it's hard. Most people don't get off the Thanksgiving week from work. So if your kids come home, you got to deal with that. I mean, having little kids now that aren't in school yet, I could think about it, right? But I agree. I think I don't really like going to school past June 10th or 11th, right? I think at that point you lose your kids. Your seniors graduate normally the week before, a week and a half before, and then people just stop coming to school. Middle of June 19th, I think that's a stretch, right? Like I never went to school on my birthday, which is June 13th. In my life, I think that's a safe bet. We shouldn't have school past the 13th. Just saying, nothing in school. So I agree. I think version 1 from my perspective works as a parent and a board member. And I think, Krista, weren't you just trying to couple more with Philomath and Corvallis so the teachers that live in those areas have the same days off?
I know,
as their
yes.
kids have off in their schools.
Well, and I know like Corvallis and Philomath, the Christmas vacations were off this year. and
Yeah.
That was a struggle with some of our staff.
Well,
Some of
my
them
wife
actually had to
hated
take
it.
time
She was
off.
like, "What is this? Why are we off so late?" Right? Didn't give a lot of prep time for Christmas. So no, I think as long as I think it's important to be consistent with the other school districts, for bus drivers, for teachers, for everyone else that's maybe has kids in both areas. So
Deb, anything for you? I just don't want to miss calling on you. There's an opening.
I think what the teachers are wanting is what's best because they're the ones in the class. So I'm with the teachers.
Okay, thank you. I can't add anything that this group has already said. So Laura, roll call.
Okay, let's do roll. Russ,
yes.
Deb,
Yes.
Christine,
Yes.
Lauren,
Yes.
Jamie.
Yes.
Alright, motion passes unanimously. All right, next we have the baseball co-op recommendation. Mr. Rothenberger, are you still online?
You know I am, Miss Christine, right here.
Well, I couldn't see your smiling face, so.
Just sitting here eating my Chinese food, but I'm ready to talk. Let's roll.
All right, let's go through this co-op a little bit.
Okay. So we looked at some situations. We looked at Walport. We looked at Philomath, and we looked at Monroe. And by the end of it, I got some feedback through parents and stuff. And the majority and just the gut feeling that our history with Monroe has been positive on all co-ops. As you know, Dave Smith used to run a baseball co-op with Monroe and was the coach there and took kids over there for a few years, and everything was positive there. And last year, Ricky did a tremendous job with the girls basketball. And matter of fact, it's still nice to see Tony Parker, the head coach of Monroe. He stops by and watches our games sometimes. So I just feel that the same size and situations like that is a better fit for us. Matter of fact, some of our youth students are going to go play youth baseball and softball in Monroe's athletic program, youth program, instead of going through the Philomath youth programs, because that way their kids are already going to be there. They can have kids that practice at the elementary, and they can have kids that practice at the high school also. So that's already been discussed. So I just think it's a better fit for us. And Bill Croson is probably top 2A coaches in the state of Oregon. Does a tremendous job, and he works hard. Their numbers are kind of low this year, but he's going to work hard he always tries hard to get JV games in. And so the ultimate for us is if we could find a coach that would like what Ricky did last year, that would be awesome for our kids. I have reached out to see if the retired Dave Smith would be interested in doing that again. He has not got back to me, but if not, looks like we'll have a driver take our kids over and go from there. So that's why we chose Monroe.
Is there a motion to consider?
This state's transportation will need to be provided by parents.
I was gonna say, let's consider a motion and then get into discussion and
Okay.
questions.
Okay. A motion that Alsea School District approves the baseball co-op with Monroe School District for the 23-24 school year.
All right, there's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
All right, Jamie, you want to lead with questions or comments?
In reading this, it kind of conflicts with your statement, Bart. It says here that transportation will need to be provided by the parents.
We are going to keep that in there, Jane, because we aren't quite sure on our transportation. Because like what Krista talked about at Pacific, they had co-ops with Gold Beach and stuff. And the parents just know that they have to transport them. We're going to work hard to do our best to try and transport with our vans. And I think we have a pretty good possibility at that, especially, you know, like if I could talk Dave Smith into it, that would be a very strong possibility. But that's just a lot of co-op schools that co-op. That's what exactly they do. The parents know that they have to transport them.
And as
But
long as
last year we were very privileged with Ricky, right? She'd drive all the way out from her house, get a van, and then take them all the way there, and then bring them all the way back. And you just don't see that very often.
Well, and the thing we have to remember too is I believe our insurance company will not allow volunteers. Vans, it's not covered in our insurance. So if we provide transportation, it would have to be by a payment. So that's an extra cost.
Okay, I just want to make sure, based on his statement online and this, that we clarify that that's the expectation and that we'll do our best to support.
yeah, as long as it's clear to the parents by the time it starts,
Yes.
which way it's going.
So I
Yeah.
have a quick, oh, actually, I didn't get to go yet. Sorry. Russ, any comments at all? Deb, any?
Nope, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, so I just have one quick question. Well, the motion on the floor right now is to approve boys baseball. Is there any interest from the female athletes for softball? And I'm just curious if we'd have to bring another co-op back if there was for softball, or is it their program, their softball baseball program?
So I'm gonna be honest. I definitely would be crazy if I didn't look at us adding softball too. Okay, just to Title IX. Okay, so no, it's a great question, and we looked at it, and Monroe needed at least 5 girls. Okay, they don't have enough for a team either.
Okay.
And so I went around to every classroom and begged and hollered, and I came up with 1 possibly.
Okay.
And that was just a possible. And so we did try 100% because we would love to send both groups if we could. But Monroe's not even going to have a softball team. And then last year, you know, when we reached out to Philomath, our girls had no desire to go there and play.
Yep. Okay, I just wanted to ask the question, so
Oh, that's a good question. I probably should have prefaced that first. I'm sorry.
That's okay. No, that's what the conversation's for. All right, unless there's any other discussion, we can go ahead and vote.
Deb,
Yes.
Lauren,
Yes.
Christine,
Yes.
Russ,
Yes.
Jamie.
Yes.
All right, motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Bart, for putting all that together.
Yeah, it'll be great with Monroe. They vote on Tuesday.
Oh, they're bored. Okay, thank you. I was
Mhm.
like, okay, we're into old business. So adopted budget calendar. I thought we approved this. last
You did.
time.
I just wanted, it said proposed, so I wanted to put it out that it's adopted. I
Okay.
think the more we put out our budget calendar so people can see it,
Mhm.
the more interest we have and, you know, the more people can't say, well, I didn't know. Well, we want it out there. And so I do believe that we have put it out at
It's at the Merck, the post office, and Deb's.
and we're gonna put, I believe we put this out, but I'm not sure. And if we haven't, we'll put it back out on our social media. We'll put it on our webpage. And we're still looking for budget committee members. So if you are interested, please email Laura so you can get an application. Or if you know anybody who is interested.
Yeah, I think.
Have we had anyone? Yeah.
I've had 3 inquiries with 1 follow through and turn in
Okay.
the application.
Okay.
Are we having a work session to go through those applications and discussion before we appoint at our board meeting, or?
I believe you just have the discussion at the.
Okay.
Amen.
All right, and so kind of into that, is there any other questions on the budget, the adopted budget calendar? So then on that budget committee openings, just, for clarification, we do have those openings and it is, we would ask that the community members reach out to Laura for those applications.
And they have till when to do that?
March
March
7th.
7th.
Okay.
Superintendent evaluation planning worksheet. This is just here as kind of a reminder for everything and a check-in. The superintendent self-evaluation, I think you wanted to ask if we could move that, correct?
Yeah, so it snuck up on us.
It's
So
tomorrow, yeah.
yeah, I was like, oh, so I was hoping perhaps that we could do that we could do it. We need to talk to Vince that we could either do it at our March meeting or maybe we could do a quick Zoom meeting, which I'm fine with because I believe it is an executive session. Maybe we could do a quick Zoom meeting at the end of February and go through it and I can do that. So because the information, so the ratings would have to be submitted. So Laura, would you email Vince and have him help us finish this last part off?
So does the board,
What
We
is
don't
the,
have-
I don't understand since it's self-evaluation, like, is that
So I
you're
would give
giving
you what
us,
I
you
think.
think,
Yeah.
and then we're saying,
just
yeah, we
digest
agree.
it,
or
I
we-
think,
Okay.
because
Because I'm like, we
'cause
could
then
just do
it-
it at the board meeting before the session and, I mean, that's fine by me, unless it's a lengthy thing where I think we need a separate night for.
well, because the way I understand it is that Krista does her self-evaluation and presents it to us in executive session. It's not really a
Mhm.
conversation
Right,
so much,
right.
but as a like, this is how I see where I'm at, where I'm going, and things like that. And then starting on March 1st, that's when we would, well, due to this, we would really start gathering our board member ratings and taking into account their
Oh, for that
self-evaluation
meeting.
information
Okay,
as well.
Okay,
And then compiling results and then hitting this conclusion of April 11th, which I think is far before your contract date, actually. I think your contract date is at the end of
June.
June.
With the
Or no,
contract.
no,
Or
end of
July.
April.
Even end of April, because
oh.
yeah, I mean, we could also look, I can look at my contract date and we could say, hey, we want to push everything back a little bit. I think we were just trying to be on top of things. And then, life gets
Got
in
it.
the way.
I just
So-
didn't quite understand the whole way it works, so.
Let's talk to Vince. I'll get on the phone with Vince and then I can do some clarification.
So could I get when it's not a vote, an agreement from the board essentially that Krista can work with Vince and then Laura can send out dates for maybe a special executive session or something like that? Because we can set that date together as a board, but Laura would need to kind of appoint those dates for us and then we could give her our yes or no. And we publicize that then to the community that we were having an executive session. Is that organizational?
So that
okay?
would be probably before the end of February, is that what I'm guessing?
So what I'm.
I'm only asking because I have a couple business trips I have coming, so I'm just trying to figure out.
So
when
what
it is.
I'm proposing is that we would do the superintendent self-evaluation prior to March 1st. And
Okay.
Like I said, we can do it online. I don't mind.
Okay,
It just would be an exec session and then you guys would get your data after that. And probably we could move some of that stuff around. I'm okay with that as long as we have it before the end.
is March 14th the board meeting?
Yes, I believe it is.
When is spring break?
The last weekend of March.
Oh, the
25th.
last week, okay.
And then the other thing in that is, I think it would be helpful, I'm just thinking from my point of view, but you guys tell me if I'm wrong. I think it would be helpful for Vince to maybe give us an overview of gathering that information, what are we needed to do, compiling those results, what's our action to take, so that we kind of maybe have like a check mark box so that we
Mhm.
also kind of stay in line, because it is going to come up really quick on us too.
Sure.
Because the other piece, I mean, I'm okay with too, is that we could, instead of having the compiling results at the March meeting, we could do it at the April meeting and then at the May meeting, presentation approval. We could also move everything back a month. Because I think, yeah, it's coming quick.
Well, and the discussion, the board superintendent discussion, again, that's your decision whether you want that in executive or open session. We just then go through and present the summary. Yeah. Okay. Is there any disagreement with
No, I'm good.
Krista working with Vince and then Laura putting out some dates? Is that okay with you, Laura? Deb,
Okay.
anything from you?
I agree. I think giving her time and us time to figure this out is a good idea.
Yeah, I'm kind of against pushing everything back though, if at all possible. Get whatever session we need to get done this month rather than ended up pushing everything
Right.
back by a month. I'd like to stick with our schedule as best as we.
Okay, what
best we can.
I will tell you is that we will have to have an executive session in March to discuss contract negotiations, so that might be an extra long negotiation, just a heads up.
Mhm.
And then we are on top of that gonna do in March, we are on top of that gonna do the audit.
Okay, so just, I have to take a trip to like UCLA or UC Davis in March, and I'm trying to set the date. So just let's get these dates
Yeah.
out soon, because I'm meeting with a surgeon. I mean, I just have to book it, so it's probably gonna be like a Thursday, Friday. So just let's get those dates.
Okay.
Because I know it's spring break and like it's gonna be a busy month,
Mhm.
March.
I'm just thinking even as we look at this 2/8 date, and I know that's tomorrow, but if you have your conversation, we really might be able to fit something in before
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
3/1,
Okay.
that we don't have to move things
Yeah.
around and then you get some answers and.
Yeah,
you
for
know.
me, it's just anything after, I don't get back till the 16th, so that's a Friday, but like after the 18th for
Okay.
me in
Okay.
February is good. I'm here all of February, so.
Let me talk with Vince, because maybe he's like, here's this is what you do, Krista, and I can get it done and say, hey, can we do an exec session? And like I said, I'm okay with doing it via Zoom. So we're not all having to come
Mhm.
here. I'm okay. with
I'm
that.
I'm either way. I don't care.
And if you do it
For me,
Zoom
it's
on the
not far.
beach in Hawaii, I'm gonna be mad at you.
No, I'm not doing it there. I can promise you that would be like a marriage ending thing if I did it on the beach in Hawaii.
We don't want that. We don't want that. Okay, perfect. Okay, so there's
We haven't
my
had a
agreement now.
vacation in 6
We'll go through
years.
that. No first or second readings. Let's go through board comments.
Okay.
Are there any board comments this evening?
I have one.
Oh, I was gonna say, Deb, you lit up right away. You get to go first.
So, Mr. Rothenberger kind of skipped over, part of the arts program. Mr. Lynch came up to the cafe day before yesterday, and he took my sign because the kids are also doing a new design and, redoing the cafe's sign also.
You're so
And
blessed. Deb.
I am super excited because I've been looking for somebody to paint
Yeah.
my sign for a couple of years, and Mr. Lynch so graciously offered the kids to do it. And for the Alcee Pride, those kids get to walk around town and they get to say, you know what, we did that. I think that is the hugest thing that I've ever really heard come out of this school is Mr. Lynch giving those kids pride in their work and in their social for the community and skills. They're learning skills outside of the classroom, which I think is super important. So, a huge shout out to Mr. Lynch and the drive that he's giving these kids and the community support and draw. I think it's just, I can't tell you how amazing it is. So a huge shout out to the program. I think it's amazing, and I would love to see this class really grow because I just think it's great for the kids' self. They're everything about them.
Thank you so much, Deb.
And we can have them do the welcome to Alcee sign on the highway. Looks like it should be burned down. Hey, what am I saying?
Go ahead, Jamie.
I would like to state that I don't see it in the key dates. Nor I've seen some stuff posted on social media, but I also want to say Alcee has always been incredibly great about filling the gymnasium, supporting our athletes and sporting events. Alcee is going down an endeavor of a new athletic event called OSET, and I'm hoping that maybe we can get some community members to go and support the OSET team. I'm going to attempt to make it. I always wanted to watch one of their events, and I'm super glad to see some blue and white out there, and I'm hoping other community members may want to join as well.
What is OSET?
Can you explain to those of us who may not be familiar?
OSET is equestrian based.
Oh,
These
oh.
youth have been working with horses
Okay.
and compete in different types of equestrian events.
Okay. Sorry, I had to.
That's okay.
I'm new to the
I don't
country.
know what it stands for because I'm that naive, but a good friend of mine does OSET over at Central Lynn, and I've always wanted to make it to her stuff and never have had an opportunity. And I'm super excited that this is an opportunity that our Alcee students have been given, and so I want to try to
Cool.
support that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Some of those OSET members are also part of our basketball team, so they're balancing
Yeah.
dual programs. So yeah, absolutely, Jamie. Thank you.
I'm trying to look up the dates here real quick.
So Jamie, just to add to that, our youngest daughter has done OSET through Vanita for the last 4 years. She graduates this year, so she will compete against some of our kids. So I think it's awesome.
That's cool. It's gonna be February 15th through 18th at the Lynn County Fairgrounds. Sunday is the main day that they'll be riding.
Outstanding. Thank you for sharing that. Russ,
I need a custom fire pit ring made, so that was exciting. I definitely need one.
We'll
Hook
have
me
to
up.
Email Mr.
I know, I saw it, I'll forget it. So if he's not on here, I need one. I think everything's good.
I also think the addition of our flag presentation tomorrow evening between the varsity boys and the varsity girls games of the new flag from the Booster Club. Any veterans in our community, they have been invited to come and stand on the court with our athletes during the presentation of our flag. And our amazing Miss Catherine Ellis.
What
will
time
be
is that?
Singing.
No,
Probably
like
close to
6:30.
6:45.
Yeah.
If I can make it up.
I would say it's gonna be like right at about 6:50, 7 o'clock.
There you have
Right
it.
at 6:50, 7:00.
6:45, you'll be early.
All right.
But it's a busy day tomorrow, so I doubt it.
All right. I wanted to, Soren, did you have anything? I wanted to thank our staff and our transportation, and our leadership for dealing with the ice. I mean, our kids missed some school, but I think we took the safety first route. Although the roads in LC looked pretty okay, the roads everywhere else did not. We know that we're busing those kids in from other areas, and we're asking people to drive that. So, I feel like it went pretty seamless. We knew what was going on. We knew when there was a delay. We knew when there was the cancellation. There was heads up to everybody to get coverage for their kids or things like that. So, thank you to everybody, and appreciate that. Future agenda items. Anything? None. So let's go through some key dates. It's not here, but again, to call out, tomorrow night is the flag presentation on February 8th, probably around 6:45, 6:50, or 7, depending on who you ask. February 9th, so this Friday, is a teacher workday, followed by a high school sweetheart dance at 6 p.m., which I believe does cost to get in, and goes to our junior class. So it's a fundraiser for our junior class. So there's some options there. February 19th, no school. February 23rd, however, we will have school in session. That's that Friday, Monday combo. March 7th is the committee applications are due, and we have our next board meeting on March 14th at 7 p.m. Unless there's anything additional or that I'm forgetting. All right, we are adjourned at 8:08. Have a great evening.
Night, everybody.
Good night.
Thank you, Deb.
Good night.